In moving from a sad life to a joyful life, there are three moments that I can call back to that have occurred in my life that serve as constant reminders of how I can live a more happy, joyful, and fruitful life. And the three stories I'm about to share with you, not all of them are happy stories, but I feel the need to share them because they had such a profound impact on my life, and I hope that in sharing these moments with you that your life will be affected in one way, shape, or form. Let me know. So my first year in China as a fresh grad working in China, I got a winter holiday. And the winter holiday is this Chinese New Year holiday that's 4 weeks long that happens in February. And like any young person in a new country, I decided to travel. And in those 4 weeks, I probably went to 7 or 8 different cities. I mean, it's been such a long time. But towards the end of my trip, I decided to go to a place called Wenchuan. And in Wenchuan, there was this school. And when I got to the school and I looked at the school, I couldn't help but tear up a little. And just thinking about it right now, it kind of gives me the feels, you know? So what kind of school was this school? Well, this was ground zero of the 2008 Sichuan earthquake that killed 69,000 people. And I remember talking to the tour guide, the local tour guide, one of the remaining people from Wenchuan, because she said that, you know, most people after the earthquake left because there was so much heartbreak in the area. Like, you all knew, everybody knew someone that died in that earthquake, and just staying in that place was debilitating for their life. But she chose to stay because she said she had nothing left and she needed to make a living, and so she was one of the people that stayed to rebuild. And I was looking at this school that was ground zero of the earthquake, and was this lopsided structure. It was 4 stories taller, but part of it had sunk into the ground. And I was talking to the lady, I was like, whoa, like, why didn't this building crumble? And she said, you know, Leon, this building isn't 4 stories tall. It's 5 stories tall. One of the stories, the very first floor, is underground. And there are still bodies there. Friends, relatives that are down there that cannot be recovered. Hearing that made me just stand there in a moment of silence, because I'm a teacher, and just the thought of like any one of my students going through that sort of ordeal kind of just shakes me to the core a little. And it was in that moment when I had this realization of, man, like, your life can change just like that. Life is too short to not do something meaningful with it. Like, life is not long enough for us to waste it. Life needs to be lived. And from that moment on, I was constantly thinking about, okay, like, what do I do with my life? How do I live my life to the fullest? Like, what do I want to see? Where do I want to go? Who do I want to meet? What kind of thing do I want to build? And yes, ever since that moment, and the 7 years, 8 years after that moment, I've had my ups and downs. I've failed multiple times. I've given up multiple times, but every single time I've gotten back up, and it's because I know in my mind from that moment that life can change just like that. And so if you're right now feeling like you're stuck and you're distracting yourself with alcohol, entertainment, going out, your life can change in a moment's notice, and everything can be different. So make the best of it while you still can. And I know that's kind of a solemn, dark message, but it really put things in perspective for me, and I hope it kind of does for you too. The second moment that I want to share with you dates a few years before I went to the ground zero of the Sichuan earthquake, and it was my graduating high school year. And back then I was a huge Korean drama fan. Sometimes I still watch those things. But I wanted to go to Korea, so I went to Seoul. I stayed in this sketchy motel, and oh man, it was so sketchy. You know a motel is sketchy when a Korean girl just scrambles downstairs in kind of not too put together clothing and kind of leaves the motel, and then moments later this fat Japanese guy walks downstairs, and in Japanese he says, "I love Korean girls." you know a hotel is sketchy when that happens. I stayed in that hotel, and that's a story for another time. Those 4 days I was just walking around Seoul, and it was on the third day, and I was in Myeongdong, and Myeongdong is this really popular place with young people. I was by myself in this t-shirt and shorts, just kind of standing there on the street, walking, and then all of a sudden I stopped. And when I stopped, I took the time to take in everything around me. And it was just these groups of young people laughing, walking past me, couples flirting, walking past me, people in business suits on the phone, talking, walking past me. People delivering food, like working, walking past me. It was in that moment when I realized that everyone there is just trying their best to live a good life. The couples, they want a good relationship. The people in the suits and the people delivering food, they want to make a living to support themselves and maybe their family. The groups of friends that are hanging out, they just want to have a chill time and have a good time. Like, everyone is trying their best to live a happy life. And there I was standing in the streets, not being able to communicate with anybody. And in that moment, I realized that the world expects nothing from me. The world does not care about my contributions. And don't get me wrong, individual people might care, right? But the world at large, society as a construct, is not something that exists in a tangible form. Like, society is not your dad that expects you to be obedient. Society is not the government that expects you to follow their laws. Society is this construct that you made up in your head growing up. And I guess that was one of the moments that contributed to me eventually deciding to go abroad and be a teacher, to go on an adventure. Because why not? Why not go on an adventure? I guess sometimes it takes a totally different environment where you understand nothing of what anybody is saying for you to recognize that noise is noise. That if noise is noise, then you can cut through it and live your life on your terms. The third moment I want to share with you has a lesson on the speed at which you're living life. About 2 years ago, I went to a place called Yunnan, and Yunnan is in China. I remember going to a place called Shaxi Ancient Town, and you probably never heard of this little place. Not many people have, but it's this like couple 100-year-old town, and some people have settled there and turned parts of it into restaurants, parts of it into hostels. It's a little known place, so it's not very crowded. Life there for 5 days was just waking up, walking around, eating some food, walking around some more, reading a book, eating more food, walk home. That was life for 5 days. And coming from the city where everyone is go, 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 like, are you making more money this year compared to last year? Are you saving towards that home? Are you saving towards that car? Are you starting a family soon? Are you gonna get that promotion soon? Like, compared to that kind of life in that ancient town was just walking around and being like, cool, those are beautiful clouds, or hey, that tree looks really cool. Living that kind of slow life and not spending even that much money every single day made me realize that we want everything quickly. We want fast food. We wear fast fashion. We want fast service. And we want things to just happen fast, 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 fast. Like, when was the last time you just sat there and thought about what you actually really wanted? When was the last time you stopped walking while you were in the middle of the street and listened to the birds sing? Like, when was the last time you felt the breeze in the air and you were like, man, that is nice? Like, doesn't that kind of life sound a lot more satisfying than fast, 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 fast? Get married, have kids, buy a home, get a car, get a promotion, divorce. Food for thought. So this third moment really taught me that I need to take the time to slow down and appreciate my own inner desires and appreciate the things around me that usually go unnoticed, the air that we breathe that we so often take for granted, the water that we drink, the people that we see and meet, the birds we hear, and the flowers that are planted or grow wild in the sidewalks. I hope you take the time to appreciate that stuff too.